Good morning, everybody. Today is Chav Beis, Maseches Megillah. So I think we got down pretty far, right? We got down pretty far discussing actually today's. We got to the Meisveh and Chav Beis, almost in the middle of the skinny lines. We were discussing yesterday, actually, as I got called up today. It's a big honor to get called up, and right, So the question was, when one is reading, so we say a minimum is 3 psukim, 3 people. So what do you do in a paragraph of 5? Do you go back? We had opinion. Do you go back? Right? Do you split it up? Thank you very much. So that was so there was 2 different shitas. One says we go back. One says you split it up, you break it up, so each one reads 2.5 psukim. The one says no, you go back. So Meisveh, Chav Beis, Amud Aleph, right in the smack in the middle of the skinny lines, probably 15 lines down. Meisveh, Parsha shel Shisha psukim korinasa b'shnayim. Everyone agrees, according to the Tanna Kama over here. Amen. So everyone agrees that a parsha of 6 psukim, you go ahead and break it up in 2, 3 and 3, very easy, right? The concern is when you have to read at least 3, and if you don't leave 3 remaining, or if you start somewhere where people will come in late, see that, hey, the previous guy only read 2 psukim, that becomes the problem. So shel chamisha, and if you have 5 psukim, b'yachid, it's only read by 1. That is the Tanna Kama's opinion. So the Tanna Kama will make reference to this Brisa soon. We'll see he's machmer in the beginning. Can only be read by 1 person. Now, if by so chance it happens that the first person of a 5 pasuk paragraph went up there and he read 3, right? So then what happens? Hasheni koreh shnayim b'parsha zu v'yachar b'parsha acheres. So the next guy, he reads the last 2, and then he reads 1 more pasuk from the next paragraph. The Yeshomrim, and some say the Yeshomrim argues in the Tanna Kama, shleisha. You don't just read 1 pasuk in the next paragraph. You actually read 3. Why? Because once you start a parsha, you can't begin you can't read less than 3 psukim up there. Now v'mis laman damar doilig doilig nidlag laman damar paisek nifsek. Understand? Why would you say according to the opinion who says that you go ahead and you split it up, but the one that says you go backwards, you go back, you skip backwards. So Shani Hasam, the Afshar, because over there it's possible, since there's another paragraph that you're reading for that day, you can just continue to read, right? On Monday, right, and Thursday and Shabbos afternoon, right? We're not really limited to what we're reading, right? If we were only reading a certain parsha, this is the Yana Diyama, this is the parsha, that's fine. But when we read on Monday and Thursday, right, you can read, you just read for the parsha. There's no Yana, but you have to stop. So you can continue, right? We don't have a shortage of psukim. So Amar Rabbi Tanchum, Amar Shubin Levi, halacha ki yesharim. Halacha is like the yesharim who said that if you go ahead and you have to begin the next paragraph because you need more psukim, then you go ahead. And I know you only started he had 2, then you read at least another 3, right? You only start a paragraph with 3. Just like when you go ahead and read, you have to read at least 3 psukim. So too, if you're going to leave a parsha, you can't leave it less than 3 psukim. So the Gemara asks, Pshita, that's obvious. Hashta now. Mekil Tanna Kama Machmir Yeshomrim. In a case of the beginning, in other words, the beginning, what we said earlier, right? If you're going to begin a paragraph, right, like the 1 of 5, so then you have to go. It's only read by 1 person. So over there, right? Nevertheless, the Tanna Kama, it was Mekil, right? The Yeshomrim say Machmir Yeshomrim. What's that? Right. If when it comes to starting to call Mekil Tanna Kama Machmir Yeshomrim, say shiur. So leaving, how much you have to leave over to Machmir, the Tanna Kama is Machmir, right? Because he says you can't have 1 person read 3 and then the next then leave over 2. Well, Kol Shekain, the Machmir Yeshomrim, certainly the Yeshomrim is Machmir there, right? So why do you have to say the case that you can't leave, 3 less than 3 psukim? So he says, no, you might say that people coming late is common. So people coming late, The problem is people coming late. Then if they only see two psukim that was read earlier, then if you only read two psukim, then that's the problem. But yaitzin lashchichi, right? But for people to leave early, that's not a problem. So you want to go ahead and leave two psukim at the end. So everyone's going to see that you leave two psukim, and then he'll read one other pasuk or three other psukim. Everyone's going to know that the person's not going to read a total of less than three psukim. And people maybe loishchichi the manchi the sefer Torah v'nafki, people will leave out kamash malon that we are worried about that, and you never leave over less than three psukim in a paragraph. The Tanakama ma'ishna shiri delo mishum yaitzi. So what's the reason why the Tanakama says that you can't leave over less than three, right? Because the people leaving. So also at the beginning, why don't you there xera? People come late, then he should have also been machmer that you don't start with only two psukim, right? That you can't begin a paragraph right with less than two psukim. Sorry, mandayo show. Because why is the Tanakama making there? Because someone comes in late and they didn't hear it before. There's only two psukim, so they'll ask around and say, "Hey, they only read two psukim." No, they read from the paragraph before and then started the new paragraph and then read two psukim into there. So therefore, they'll know the answer. But a person who leaves, that you can't. He has no money to ask because he already left. And shalach le Rabba berei the Rabba Rav Yosef hilchos amai. What is halachas? Shalach le hilchos doileg v'emtzayit dovim. So the halacha is that we do go ahead and we repeat it, right? And the middle person, i.e. guy number two, he goes back and he's the one who repeats it. So the Levi, right? So the first person reads three, next person comes in and goes back one pasuk, starting for the third pasuk, and read that one again and go from there. Fine. All right, first wide line or middle line. Zeklal kol sheyesh b'musaf v'chulei. So the rule was, bottom line, if you have a musaf, then go ahead and there's four aliyahs in that day. If there's a musaf, the examples are Rosh Chodesh, right, and Chol Hamoed. Right, and Tainus Tzibur Bekama. What about a Tainus Tzibur public fast? So Rosh Chodesh, Hamoed, you could cover musaf arba. Like a kavar musaf low. Do we say that since Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed have a musaf, so therefore the musaf says Baruch Hashem, there's four liyas, but over here there's no musaf and tas tzibur low. Adilma perhaps hachanami ika musaf tefillah. Over here there's additional tefillas, right? There's Avinu Makenu, right? There's tefillas that you insert for. So therefore, since there's extra tefillas, maybe there also should be extra reading. So Toshma. Come and listen. Let's try and learn from our Mishnah. It says, it says the only ones listed are four in our Mishnah is Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed. So those read for Tanas Tzibur Gimel. So you can infer from there that the Tanas Tzibur, a public fast, only reads three. So one says, no, what about the Reisha? It says, B'Shenu Chamishi V'Shabbos B'Mincha Karin Gimel. It says, what are the days that we read three? That's on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos afternoon. Those we read Gimel. Sounds like Tanas Tzibur Abba. But at public fast, you read four. So from here, we can't go ahead and infer from our Mishnah because each one really has like a straight statement that doesn't mention Tanas Tzibur that you can try and infer from there. So therefore, we can't learn from that. So Toshma, come listen. The Rav Ikla LeBavel B'Tainus Tzibur. Rav was once in Bavel for a Tainus Tzibur. Kam Kora B'Sifra. He read from the Torah. Pasach. He opened up, he began, Baruch, he made the bracha, Chasim, when he finished, Baruch. He did not go ahead and make a bracha achrona after it, right? Ashenasan Torah Semes, he didn't make that bracha. Nafule, Koli Alma, Anafayo, everybody else basically dropped down on their faces to say Tachanun, V'Rav, Lo Nafil Al Ape. And however, Rav did not go ahead and say Tachanun. Now, let's talk about the first part first. So we'll get to the second part, but let's talk about the first part first. Rav Yisrael. If you go ahead and you check Rav was a Yisrael, right? Rav Yisrael. And my time so why did the third Aliyah make a bracha rishayna and not a bracha achrona? My time right? Is it not because he knows there's going to be a fourth person being called up on? I'm sorry?
Then you shouldn't have made any bracha.
All right, we'll see. All right, very good. So he says, there must be a fourth person. So therefore, I don't need to make a bracha achrona, right? The fourth person we called up. So let's learn from here that maybe they had four aliyahs, or he at least expected a fourth aliyah. Lo, Rav the Kohane Kara. No, Rav is actually called as the Kohen, right? Daha Rav Huna. I was actually once in a show where they asked the Kohanim to leave. They had a big Rosh Yeshiva, or actually I think there was two. There's two people they want to give, but they asked the two Kohanim to go ahead. One left, one didn't. So fine. So anyways, Rav Kohanim Kara, the Rav Huna Kari Bekohan, right? And because we also see that Rav read in the beginning, and Rav Huna, who was also a Yisrael, also read the Kohen Aliyah. So Bishlam Rav Huna Kari the Kahani the Afilu Rav Hamid Ravasi the Kahani Chashivi the Yisrael Michael Chafilu, because they, even though they were great Kohanim of Eretz Israel, nevertheless they they bowed their heads to him. They gave honor to him, and they always okay, let him go first. Kafile the Rav Huna, they always gave cover to Rav Huna. Elo Rav, but Rav Ha'ika Shmuel. Shmuel, who was his equal, the Kohani Havi, who was and Shmuel was his equal, and also a Kohen, right? So he said he should have, but Shmuel was just as great, and he was a Kohen, right? So Shmuel Nami Michav Havi Kavile the Rav. So Shmuel used to always go ahead and show cover to Rav. The Rav Havi Davile cover, and Rav did cover to Shmuel. V'chi Avi Le B'fanav Shlo B'fanav Lo Yavi Le. Right. So it says,
I thought that Rav and Shmuel were in different cities.
Right. So when they were together, they should, it was Rav would show it was covered given to Shmuel when they were together. The Shalol Lefana, but they weren't in the same shul, right? One was in Pumbedisa, one was the Hardia, right? They weren't in the same shul, or Surah, right? Or Surah and Hardia, right? Right.
But Rav here came from Israel. This is when he was still with Rebbe and Tzipori. That's when he came to
right.
Oh.
So over here was the Shalol Lefanav, right? It says Shmuel wasn't in Bavel, but he was in Hardia, right? So it says over here, so it says Shalol Lefanav Lo Yavi Le. So, and therefore, but when he wasn't together, then Rav would get the special cover, even though Shmuel wasn't around. So then Rav could get the first Aliyah. And Hachinami Mistaber, the Rav the Kohani Kara. It's logical to say the Rav was read as the Kohen. Why these are the Israel Kara Lefanav my time Barak, right? As Zedek pointed out, right? If he didn't read Rishon, why did he make the bracha before, right? My time Barak. So our answer is no. It was after the takana. So remember we had earlier, we mentioned yesterday, there was a takana that every person who gets called up makes the bracha before and makes the bracha afterwards, just in case people come late or people leave early. If that's the case, they should have made the bracha acharona afterwards. So Shani Heichel the Yasiv Rav, the mile. It's different when Rav was there. Why? The mile ayel mifek. Turn the page. Lo nafik. And that was because why? Because the people always come late. But if you came to shul and you saw Rav was there, no one was leaving. Right? No one was leaving early. Right? They gave the cover. The Gadol Ador was there, so they all gave cover. No one was leaving early. So since no one was leaving early, and there was someone going to be called up afterwards, therefore he didn't need to go ahead and necessarily make a bracha afterwards. No, he was just there, but people wouldn't. It wasn't covered. So Tashma, he had different cover back in those days. Tashma Zaklau Kol Sheyesh Ba Bittul Malacha Liam. Kagan, Tanis Tzibur, the Tisha B'Av, Karin Gimel. If there is Bittul Malacha, no, is a loss of Malacha, in other words, people are going to do Malacha, then we don't want to go ahead and take more of their time and add a fourth Aliyah. So anything where there is Bittul Malacha, Le'am, Kagan, Tanis Tzibur, Tisha B'Av, Karin Gimel, we only read 3. B'Shein Bittul Malacha, but there is a loss of work. People aren't generally going to work that day. As like Rosh Chodesh and Chol Moed, Karin Dalet, then they read 4. So Shmamina, indeed, learn from here that since there was no Isra Malacha, people will go to Tanis Tzibur, they go back to work, so therefore only read 3. And Amar Rav Ashi, Ana Loitran Hafi, but we didn't learn that. We learned Zaklau, Kol Yom Sheyesh Bo Musaf Eino Yantiv Karin Arba. Anything that has a musaf and it's not a yantif, then you read 4. Last suye mai. What does that come to include? The suye tanis tzibur but Tisha B'Av is not coming to include tanis tzibur and Tisha B'Av. Rather, they have extra tefillah that those should be included in the 4. So I Rav Ashi. So sorry. Says no. Last suye tanis tzibur Tisha B'Av. No, that comes to include the rules for tanis tzibur and Tisha B'Av. Rav Ashi. So in other words, if that's the case, then those have four. If that's the case, according to Rav Ashi, he's no way. There's no Tana of the Mishnah. Why? Lo Tana Kamala Rav Yosi can't be Tana Kamala Rav Yosi. Why? The Tanya when Rabbi Sachala Yosi b'Sheni v'Chamishi. If it Tisha B'Av, it turns out on Sheni Chamishi, Korin Gimel Maftir, right? Then you go ahead and you read 3 and you say Maftir. So according to this opinion, you say Maftir. Echad Maftir Echad. And what does Maftir? B'Shlishi Ravi Kari Echad Maftir Echad. And over here, and then over over there, 3 people read and 1 person does Maftir, and it falls out on, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesday. Right now, Monday and Thursday. Then Kari Echad. Then 1 person reads, right? Maftir Echad. There's still Maftir. Right, which is not like our Tana, right? Because we have always 3 people read. And Rabbi Yosi, I merely Yolim Karin Gimel Maftir Echad, right? According to Rabbi Yosi, he says no, 3 people read, and there's Maftir, right? Which disagrees with us because he just said that 4 people would have read, not 3. So he says Rabbi Yosi merely Yolim Karin Gimel Maftir Echad. So Ella Kasha, if that's the case, so Kasha Zak Klal. If that's the case, so going back, if you want to say now that Zak Klal was not coming to, it wasn't 4 Aliyahs on Tanya Sibra, rather Tanya Sibra only has 3. So the Ella Kasha Zak Klal. What is when the Mishnah comes and said this is the rule, right? Generally, it says this is the rule. It has to add something additional, but it already lists, right? The Mishnah already lists Chol Moed and it already lists Rosh Chodesh. So Ella Kasha Zak Klal. Lo, to include Rosh Chodesh and Moed. Gemara says, what do you mean? How the Tani Lo? It says the favors for Rosh Chodesh Moed Karin Arba, right? On Rosh Chodesh and the Chol Moed, you read 4. So that rule can't be coming to teach you those because those are explicitly stated in the Mishnah. So my answer is no. Really, it's just those. And Tana Sibur reads 3. And Simana B'Yalma Yav right now it's a way to remember. To light Tema Yantif Chol Moed Ki Adadinin. In order that you should remember that Yantif and Chol Moed are not the same. Ella Nakid Hai Klal B'Yadacha. Rather have this rule in your hand. Called it Tfele Milsa Mechavre Tfele Gavre Yisera. Anything that has something over its friend, over the other holiday, right? So that one is you add an extra person.
The common denominator is rejoice. So Chodesh and Yom Tov is rejoice. During the week and Tanit is during the week and Tanit.
But it doesn't have to do with the simcha. It doesn't have to do with the simcha. It has to do with work. With work, with people being in shul. If people being in shul and they have nowhere to go, then let's add on the aliyahs. Right, but if they have to go to work, we don't want to be mevatel their time. So Hilkach, therefore, Rosh Chodesh Moed, Rosh Chodesh Moed, Karban Musaf Karin Arba. So therefore, since it's a little bit chasha, they have a Musaf. We read 4. B'Yantav and Yantav it's of the Aser B'Siyas Malacha. There's a new dimension of forbidden Malacha Chamisha. Let's give him 5 aliyahs. B'Yom Kippurim, which has Musaf and has Siyas Malacha. The Einish Kares you also throw on there. Einish Kares Shisha. Let's give him 6. And Shabbos Dika Isser Skila, which also has one that does it. Chayvis basin of Isser Skila, then Shiva. Then he does 7. Now Kufa, right? So Eddie asks what's going on with the Tachnan. So let's see. Kufa Rav Ikla LeBavel B'Tana Sibur. We saw this earlier. He was on the Tower Sibur. Kam Karav Sifra. They called him up to read from the Torah. Pasach Birech, he began, he made the bracha before. Chasam, when he finished, Lai Birech, he did not make a bracha. And Nafal Koliyama on Payo, everyone then time to say Tachron, everyone fell on their faces. Rav and Rav did not go ahead and say Tachron and fall on his face. Now, my time of Rav Nafil, why did Rav not go ahead and say Tachron? Lading, and then, right, yeah, I hear. So Ritzpah, Shell, Avanim, Haisa, right? Because it was the floor, because the floor was stone. Floor was stone. The Tanya, we learn. All right. So it says, you can't have a slated stone, right, on the ground to go ahead and prostrate, to go ahead and bow down on, right? Which is, why on many places, mostly you really have to carpet it, right? But other places that especially are not carpeted, during the high holidays, when you bring out, the little either paper towels or whatever, the towels, so people don't go ahead and bow on stone, right? So this is an issue of specifically stone. One should not go ahead and bow down. Now, so how is it? The only ones, on those types of stones, you can't go ahead and bow down. The stones of Beis Hamikdash, those you can bow down. And Kedula, like Ula, Damar, Ula, Lo Asr Torah El Ritzvah Shalvan and Bilva. The only place that the Torah forbid is not on carpet, right? Rather on a floor of stone bilvad. See, Hachi, if that's the case, Meir Rav. Why just Rav? Right? Rav, he was the only person who was from there, right? I feel like Nami. Everyone should also. So Kamei the Rav Havi. Maybe not the stone was only they gave come sit in front and burn in the front. That was where the stone was. So Rav couldn't go up. Okay, so move over, go where the other people were, and say Tachman over there. Says Loi Bar the Mitriach Tzibura. He didn't want to be Matriach Tzibura. He goes over there. Everyone has to stand up. So therefore, you want to be Matriach them. So he stood in his corner. That was one teretz. V'boy same a second teretz. Rav Pishi Yadayim Beraglayim Havi. Rav he extended the way he prostrated, the way he bowed down was he spread out his hands and legs. That was the way he did it. I don't know if anybody.
Right?
I'm sorry. This is Tachman, right? I don't know if everyone ever seen. So we'll soon see, right? So right, I don't know if anyone here ever seen Rabbi Reese during the high holidays. The way he does, he fully extends. Also, he does Pisha Yadam Raglayim.
He goes deep.
Yeah. Ukadula, like Ula Damar Ula, also Tari El Pisha Yadam Raglayim Bilba. The only thing else forbidden doing the stone, you can bow on. You can't do Pisha Yadam. You can't do the spread the hands and fully and the legs. Bavad v'lipol ape. So okay, so let Rav just go ahead and fall on his face as opposed to doing the full extension of Pisha Yadayim Raglayim, right? So like Mishani Minage, he didn't want to go ahead and change from his minhag. Or if he buys him another teres, Adam Chashushani, right? Maybe since he was Adam Chashushani, could Rabbi Elazar, Damar Rabbi Elazar, ain't Adam Chashushani upon of Elim Kain, and Kiyashu Benon. A person should not go ahead and bow down and prostrate unless he knows, right, that he is going to be answered, right, guaranteed answer. They should be known. So if he goes ahead and he prays, right, for the town of Seaboard, he prays, and the tefillos aren't answered. It's an embarrassment, right? Unless he knows it's going to answer, he should be known. Right, get up. What are you praying for? Now's that time, right? I listen to your tefillos. Tana Rabbanan Kida Alapayim. So the Kida, right, which is a type of bowing down, that is on one's face. Right, put the face all the way to the ground. Right, so I guess she put her face onto the ground. Kriya aberkayim to be karim. The kriya is on one's knees. Right, so I guess the kriya on one's knees. To bow down, that is extending one's hands and legs. It says, to go ahead and bow down on the land. Now, Levi Achve Kida. So Levi was showing one how to do Kida. Kamei de Rebbe Itla. He showed Rebbe and he became lame. He injured himself, right? He injured himself permanently. This caused Levi to become lame. A person should go ahead and curse Hashem. Because the person spoke out to Hashem like a curse. He spoke out to Hashem. The Itlan became lame. He was punished for that. And who was that? Who was that? It was Levi. Right? So Levi did it. So Levi didn't get injured by showing one how to do Kida, bowing all the way down. Rather, he got injured because he spoke out against Hashem. So we're answering no, both of them caused the speaking out against Hashem and doing this dangerous maneuver. The two of the combination caused him to become a lame. And Amar Rav Chia Baravin Chazil Lahu Abaye Barava. I saw Abaye and Rava that they when they were doing Tachnon that they didn't go ahead and fall completely on their face. Rather, the Matzei Atzlui, right? And Rashi says Matzei Atzlui Al Tzideyam. They were on their sides. They didn't go ahead and go all the way down. Rather, they sort of went on their sides. Because a person who's a chashem shouldn't go ahead and fall on his face unless we saw earlier, unless he knows he's going to be answered like Yeshua Binun, and we will stop here. Everybody.